Good evening and welcome to virtual classes organized by Board of Studies Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Intermediate level, paper 7B, Strategic Management. I am Anand Saxena. I shall be taking you through to chapter 6. For the information of all my learners, I have not been able to send notes for chapter 6. I do not foresee sending notes for chapter 7 and 8 either, and I will be somehow completing my classes, and the notes we will defer for the future. So I hope you will kindly bear with me, um, and therefore it becomes all the more important for my learners to focus on the classroom here, on the classes and the interaction here, in the absence of the notes, that provided direction to the class. However, you would have also noticed that my notes are more or less in sync with the study material. Wherever necessary, I have done a little bit of tinkering to elaborate or to clarify certain concepts and emphasize certain points. Of course, these also incorporate certain exercises which might be useful for you to practice. But however, as I said, I would encourage you to prepare your own notes likewise, and expect me following up with notes sometime, in the middle of April or something like that. So, but as for now, I will not be in a position to send notes, study notes on chapter 6, 7, and 8. Okay, today's session is, as you can see, functional level strategies. And I will particularly and providing you with some newer perspectives also, in the process. Of course, your chapter overview simply states the specter of the functions or the functional level strategies. I have raised a fundamental question, whether functional strategy and strategic functional management are the same, or is there any difference? And this question is important for as far as I am concerned, and as far as I can see, because and as has been the approach of the study material also, and most of the books, that functional level strategies in a way are derivative strategies or the supportive strategies from corporate and the business level strategy. So, you envisage a hierarchy of strategies, starting with the corporate level to the business level and to the functional level. That's one way of looking at the strategy. Another way of looking at the functional strategies is in terms of strategic functional management, wherein each functionality directly contributes to the to the sustainable competitive advantage of the firm. So that means what I'm trying to say is that functional strategies provide support to the business level and the corporate level strategies. Also, they contribute directly to the competitive advantage of the firm. So that's the point that I will be highlighting in the course of my discussion. So as I said, the common perspective is this. So you need business level strategies or the SBUs because each SBU is critically different, and it deserves a kind of an focus and direction. And of course, each division will have its own, functionalities. So that's one of looking at the things. And as I said, it is a common way of looking at the things. And it uh, so it emerges therefore that uh, and think of a corporation, for example, that maybe a single product firm, right? For example, an energy company or a petrochemical company, and so on. The functional level strategies will be directly supporting the corporate, vision. Now, as you can see it here in this three-dimensional pyramid. So you can see how these functional level strategies they are contributing towards the corporate vision. Of course, if you are a multi-divisional company, then of course the contribution of the function level strategies would be for the business competitiveness as well. Hmm? So therefore, you know, um, the the functional level strategies it can be said to be providing support to the attainment of the core strategy, and the core strategy becomes a guiding framework for the development of the functional level strategy. So that is a standard way of looking at the strategy functional level strategies. uh, what I have visualized is something like this, that uh, you know the business level strategies and the grand strategy for the corporation and the functional level strategies, they move in tandem, yes, and each each strategy contributes towards a firm's competitiveness, as well. So, therefore, now this is a more integrated definition of strategic functional management, as far as I can see it. So this is a different perspective, but nevertheless a significant perspective, because if you remember, I had said that the word strategic, is prefixed. Even with the various functionalities. So we have strategic financial management, we have strategic uh, uh, marketing management, we have strategic human resource management, right? That means these functionalities stand on their own when it comes to the contribution towards the corporate sustainability. And it is important, therefore, to look at the strategic management in an integrated fashion rather than in a hierarchical fashion. So that is the point that I wanted to make as far as these functionalities and the functional strategies are concerned. Uh, I have therefore, tinkered with the uh, uh, with the diagram in the book. For example, the diagram in the book talks about strategic marketing management process. I have tinkered it and modified it to a strategic functional management process. So that and as we already know that every strategy involves analysis of internal and external environment and the development of strategic plans and their implementation and of course evaluation. So what I have done is that by slightly modifying the diagram given on page 6.9, I have lent it a generalizability, and I have suggested that similar framework in a way will be usable for all the functionalities, not only marketing, strategic marketing process. So I hope you are able to see the point, in term point of looking at strategic functional management versus functional strategies. So if there are any questions, of course, I would like to take this at this stage only before I proceed further. And let me see if there are actually questions on this. Mm, Radha, I asked previous uh, discussion that strategic behavior emphasizes on market imperfections, uh, then why the focus is on conversion of such imperfections to the most profitable, right? And the perfect means of accreting to the long-term business sustainability. Very good question, Radha. I think this shows that you have been thinking on the subject, and definitely a scholar badge for you on this. It's a classical question of why we are seeking for perfection in an environment. That's the point that Radha has here has asked. I'm putting the question also for the contemplation of everybody, because it is a $1 million question actually. So very thoughtful of you to have asked this question. Uh, this is called a strategic paradox, right? So we have seen that strategy thrives on in market imperfections, and then we are talking about systemic advantage, right? So it means, how through successive disequilibrium, uh, or in spite of successive disequilibrium, we will be able to stay afloat, stay profitable, and stay above average. That is the point. Great question. So I will refer to this as a paradox, strategy paradox. So a perfect competition doesn't offer long-term profitable opportunities because everybody is making normal profit only, right? And we are hoping that uh, through wading through the imperfections, a firm will be able to successively earn an above average return, right? So these two things, kind of go together, seem, not resolvable, right? But there is a hope that a firm will always be able to do better than the competitors. So I hope the point is taken, Radha. And if in arms of porters of asked, then does mention about force would be appropriate. Can do is that it depends upon the question. If question is only on Porter's model, then you can say that the initial is 5 forces and the later on the sixth force was you know added in recognition of the influence of the such stakeholders as government and environmentalists and so on. And if there's a critical question asking you to critically examine, the relevance of Porter, then of course in any case you can bring in the sixth dimension too. So therefore, I think you have to think strategically also, while attempting the exam, and you have to look at the question, understand its import, and then add value to your answer, right? Okay, good. Vijita, Aditya, very good evening to you all. Uh, then uh, the how does the government determine or distinguish between strategic sectors and the non-strategic sectors? Uh, by and large, we can understand the strategic sectors, at the macro level as those who have a who are directly impinging on, something like national security and, um, you know, um, national order, for that matter. So, there was a time when we thought of public sector, all public sectors as of strategic importance, and we wanted the public sector enterprises to um, occupy the commanding heights of the economy, and they were to, in a way, provide direction to the economy. Of course, now what has happened is that we have pruned the list of strategically important public sector enterprises, and very few atomic energy and defense, all these sectors have been, now kind of included in the list of strategic sectors. So the criterion which is used probably, in the mind of the strategist or the policy makers seems to be national security, I think, rather than anything else, right? So I hope, Mansha, your question is duly taken care of. And there is another question which Mansa has asked, which relates to positive advertising. I really do not know. However, I think generally speaking, advertising, of course, we will be covering it when we take up the marketing, strategic marketing. The advertising, which probably focuses on positive emotions like peace, harmony, can be regarded as a positive advertising. Off the cuff, I would not be in a position to respond beyond this, right? Another connotation which could be associated with positive advertising could be, to my mind, this is not a standard terminology. I have not seen this word in the lexicon of advertising or marketing generally. I do not know if a new concept has evolved, but positive has to be taken in the usual sense of the term. So one is the positive emotion, and secondly, it could also be that rather than negatively showing, one product. This issue came up with SIBA med advertisement, that rather than promoting their own product, they are undermining the HUL product. They are engaged in negative advertising. So, probably the same like positive attitude or positive thinking and negative thinking. So likewise, positive advertising and negative advertising. I cannot off the cuff comment on this beyond this. Okay. Uh, so I hope we are set, and all your queries. Regarding the technical queries on CA inter and first group timetable, etc., I am not the right person to ask. I am concerned with my subject here. and therefore these queries be rather addressed to the ICAI directly rather than to the faculty, if I may say so. Okay, let us go back to the discussion, right? And I think we were, of course, here, rather here, right? So, this is the kind of standard format we can use for the formulation of functional strategy. And the functionality could be HR, marketing, finance, or R&D, or whatever, right? I hope this point is well taken. And therefore, in the study material, you can do this kind of slight modification of the content and then be clear about it. Continuing with the idea as to how strategic uh, functional management is integrated with the corporate level strategy or the function level strategy. Now look at BCG, for example, right? We have done BCG already, So, if I look at strategic financial management, for example, its job will be to cash cow uh, and the certain businesses and put the money in the in the question marks so that they become the stars of the future, right? Or do something with the dogs, maybe merge certain businesses and try to, as I said, add a nostalgic value, to the products, and try to take them towards the question mark or cash cow, whatever may be possible. So you have to do the financial juggling. Ultimately, this portfolio analysis becomes an exercise in strategic financial management, because you have to sell off certain shares, as they call it, or businesses or the sub businesses, and put money elsewhere, and you have to rebalance the portfolios so that the overall portfolio return is above average, right? So what are we doing? We are ensuring that my financial management, in a way, strategically pitches towards the sustainable competitive advantage of my firm, right? So this is what I needed to kind of highlight. And likewise, the moment you say so, that my emphasis is now going to be towards the question marks and coming them into stars, accordingly you can think of marketing strategies that will be needed to to create the stars in the image of the potential customers of your you know of your business, is it not? So that's one integrative idea that I have brought in here with respect to BCG matrix. In fact, you can see that I have tried to leverage, for example, and position BCG, even with the product life cycle. And now you imagine the various product life cycles that the company is kind of experiencing. And idea is that certain products will be at the introduction stage, and there will always be a question mark whether they will succeed in the market or not, before they become the star of tomorrow, and before they mature and are ready cash cows for you, and so on and so forth. So therefore, all these ideas are integrated ideas, although we study them in piecemeal, fashion. But look, ultimately, as I said, all the things are happening simultaneously, and one can really extract a particular segment out of this, and then kind of build an argument around it. Hmm? I always say reality is seamless, right? We break it into parts for better comprehension. Hmm. And we break it into parts for comprehension, but we become so much obsessed with the part that we lose sight of the whole. Is it not? Uh, so my idea is to give you a holistic perspective on this. And another idea that emerges from it, and which is probably mentioned in your study material also, not very prominently, but certainly it is there, that all these strategies have to be manner. That means your production strategy has to be in sync with the marketing strategy, and finance strategy has to be in sync with the production strategy and marketing strategy, and so on. That is why we define strategy as a comprehensive, integrated, plan, wherein all the parts of the organization, kind of fit together. So that is what is important. So what I'm showing through these slides is that integrated, comprehensive perspective, and I will show how from this integrated perspective we also arrive at strategic functionalities, and try to contribute directly to the corporate sustainability. But that will happen a little short while from now, as the argument is in the process of getting developed here. So what I have done, this is a vague, because it will be obviously a blur image, because I have extracted it from this particular slide, and I have tried to enlarge it. In the process of enlarging it, the letters have got blurred. This diagram on the left panel, that is the northwest panel, shows that cash flow from milking cows can be spent for on the promising question marks, with a view to making them into stars, and the stars become future cash cows, right? Now that is the kind of framework. Or they may be used from consolidating existing stars, and then the stars straight away become the future cash cows. So that is one causality, or the direction of the thing. So there can be very many ways of kind of contributing to the sustainable competitive advantage of the firm. For example, the when we finance the promising question marks, we may realize that certain question marks have low prospects. They are not scalable, so we may have to drop them off, or maybe they are sidelined as dogs, and waiting for the future to convert them either into stars or into cash cows. So, or we can divest them and realize the money, and money we focus utilized towards focusing on certain question marks. Suppose I identify 10 question marks, and I realize that out of these 10, 6 are not promising. So 6 I might divest, and then I may just focus on the 4 question marks, hoping to make them into stars or maybe cash cows or whatever, right? So that is how the strategy makers of the company, to wade through the uncertainties of strategy formulation. Uh, Another integrative perspective that I have brought in for your reference here is that how, for example, uh, the functional level strategies may be integrated with the business level strategies. So if particular business level, we talk about flexibility, right? And then how this flexibility initiatives can be incorporated in the direct as well as in the indirect value chain. For example, how I may rely on inbound logistics or the outbound logistics, for example. Now think of a restaurant, right? And one thing is that restaurant may have its own delivery service, right? Which will be very expensive to carry, and much of the time probably it will be either overutilized or underutilized, is it not? So if there are ways, and you know that there are ways that now you can ride on Swiggy or Zomato, or even certain courier companies that allow you to integrate with them for local deliveries and so on and so forth. So you can bring about flexibility in all your operations, right? And you can use part-time workers, or you can use co-workers, right? You can borrow workers from some other company for some hours, and then you kind of pay them and so on. So you may not have any full-time workers. So how through the HR, through the marketing, through the finance, suppose there's a big order, you can rely on trade credit to tide over the uh, you know temporary crisis in working capital management arising from a bigger order. And of course, you can link it with the revenue generation. So as the money is received, the working capital cycle is completed. So you can integrate. So what I have been highlighting so far, to sum up the things, that I have been emphasizing the integrated nature of strategic management, where the corporate level, business level, and functional level strategies are all, interlinked with each other in a manner that they reinforce each other for the corporate sustainable advantage, and also independently contributing towards corporate sustainable competitive advantage. So I hope the argument is well taken here. Uh, uh, the last, I think, slide for this integrated nature of the functional management and the strategic functional management. As you can see on this particular slide, we have seen here the functional emphasis along the PLC, the product life cycle, right? So, you would have seen how marketing mix varies across the PLC. Here I am telling you how the functional mix varies along the PLC. So in the introduction stage, of course, the focus of R&D is to develop new products and new services. And in the decline stage, you have to shift your R&D from the existing towards the newer products, right? And then during the stabilization phases and the growth phases, you may have to make product modifications, as the market reacts and responds to your products, and and keep innovating, and until the product is stabilized in the market and is positioned well, right? And uh, because at the maturity level there will be more competitors and substitutes. R&D focus will be on developing alternatives that will reduce the unit cost with a view to competing on price, because initially you were competing on differentiation basis because your product was new, right? So this is how R&D functionality, for example, is varying across PLC. Marketing, you are well aware of, and likewise, when we are looking at operations, our focus would be to develop the production standards and maybe even develop the product standards and standardize the production process. And then at the maturity level, our objective will be to leverage the economies of scale, and that's how. So likewise, in the finance, idea will be to obtain the seed capital to fund the innovation process, and maybe venture capital, several rounds of venture capital before we can go for IPO for our expansion purposes. And in the decline stage, of course, we have to maybe divest and then shift the facilities to some alternative uses. So this is how we can look at the integratedness of the functional strategies along the product life cycle. Let me see if there are any questions. Okay, any questions? No, I don't see any questions here. That means you all are on board and you are agreeable, to the idea that we need to have an integrated perspective. And this integrated perspective not only ensures that the functional level strategies and the business level strategies are reinforcing each other and the corporate level strategy, but also the functional level strategies are capable of and contributing directly towards corporate sustainability. So this is an important takeaway to my mind from today's session, and I hope that you are getting the point that I am trying to make. Now, I will just take the example of the Japanese R&D company, rather automation company, and build certain stories around it to further drive you home, on how even the functional strategies may emerge from the corporate philosophy straight away, or contribute towards the development of the corporate philosophy, so on. We have done C.K. Prahlad, for example, and we did C.K. Prahlad for his ideas of core competence. I'm sure you are aware that C.K. Prahlad's another big contribution is towards bottom of the pyramid, fortune at bottom of the pyramid. Now, for example, your marketing team or the sales team feeds back into the system reports that look, people are I got distracted by Muskan's question on maturity phase. Muskan, I will come back to the question once I am done with the idea that I was trying to build. The idea was um, uh, the idea it my focus got distracted, so maybe it will come back to me, and then we will talk about. No, I was talking about how, for example, the philosophy of the corporation, you know, is directly interpreted at the functional level, or the functional level contributes to the philosophy of the corporation. That's the point that I was trying to make, wherein I had introduced C.K. Pellad's idea of bottom of the pyramid, fortune at bottom of the pyramid. Um, and the example that I was giving was that suppose your sales force, feeds back into the system and information that, look, our sales are low because our package size is high and people are not able to afford, uh, or they do not need probably a large size packets. And if we can come with the economical package, small size packets, our sales will go up, and because our products will become affordable by even the poor. Now, this insight is a huge insight, and you know that Chick shampoo revolutionized this idea and focus on bottom of the pyramid. That means the poorest people, by coming out with rupee one shampoo sachet. And you know that even the big wigs like yeah, Hindustan Lever, even now, even companies, super specialty companies like Tresemme, etc., have followed the suit of coming out with shampoo sachets, right? And how it builds into the overall corporate philosophy of targeting the products, to the people at the bottom of the pyramid rather than at the middle or on the top of the pyramid, who can afford large volumes of the products. So therefore, the bilateral nature of contribution of the functional level strategies to the corporate and the business level strategies, needs to be understood. This is the point that you must all kind of carry home and kind of try and understand this. And because this can be now become this company wide strategy. Likewise, the idea of uh, you know recycled the products and becoming a part of the circular economy, is it not? So uh, the managers at the top can be really enlightened by the grassroots workforce, and maybe they can see the point that, oh, this is where we can pitch our corporation, and we can raise money from the socially responsible investors and the ecologically sensitive investors and create a niche for ourselves. So therefore, the flow between the functional and the corporate level strategies or the business level strategies is bilateral, and that is what we need to kind of understand. Coming back to the life cycle, theory, what happens is that when the product uh, has attained growth, phenomenal growth after it has been introduced. Uh, the rate of growth, mind you, in management and in economics, it is not only the growth, it is the rate of growth, that matters. The rate of growth slows down. As we also grow up, our rate of growth slows down. From teenage to our rate of growth is from childhood to teenage very fast, is it not? And then it tapers off. So likewise, the product growth tapers off, and that is where there is an opportunity to cash coin your products. You receive a lot of cash flows because maybe you are occupying a dominant position in the market by virtue of a faster growth, is it not? And of course, uh, in this stage, the idea will be, because you may not be able to increase the price. Industry has matured, more players have come in, so you can really maintain your profitability via reducing the cost, right? So that is the remember the flatter part of the average cost curve, long run average cost curve, right? So that is the maturity phase, Muskan. I hope the idea is clear, right? So growth and maturity is clear, right? Growth is the youth of the product, right? And maturity, of course, you know that when the rate of growth has slowed down, and wherein we are not able to um, uh, play with the price and work with more and more of reducing the cost on the flattening the curve of the average cost curve. So that is what we need to kind of remember. So the growth in revenue and growth in profitability both tapers off, and our strategy has to be accordingly adapted in sync with that particular stage. And as we saw, for example, our technological or R&D strategy has now to focus on ways of reducing the cost and sliding along the learning curve. So that is what the difference is. I hope the differences are clear. Any other questions? I hope I have been able to attend to your queries, and you all are with me as far as the progress of this chapter goes. Any questions? Once again, I will update. No, good. I'm happy that so you are. We were at this particular slide. So far, our discussion has been that functional level strategies uh, integrate well with the corporate level strategies, right? And we have seen how the flow of the resources moves along cash cows, question marks, and stars, and so on and so forth. And we also saw that how functional level strategies may help realize the business level strategy. For example, in situations where emphasis is on flexibility, right? So therefore, my HR, my marketing, my finance, my operations and logistics has to be in sync with my flexible business strategy, right? So this, and of course, the integrated nature of strategies with respect to the product life cycle. So the narrative so far has been this. So, right? So our narrative of the functional level strategies has been the integratedness of the functional level strategies with the grand strategy of the corporation as a whole, as well as the business level strategies that are shown by way of blue colored sawtooth wheels, right? So that is where we need to take a pause and contemplate on the relationship between functional, business, and corporate level strategies. We are now entering the second phase, and the second phase is essentially uh, moving on to the individual level, individual functionalities as far as the uh, strategy formulation at the functional level is concerned. So we'll be talking about marketing strategy, we'll be talking about production or operation strategy, and so on and so forth. I have devised this standard framework for you because and deriving from the fundamental definition of strategy as an interaction between the internal factors and the external factors. So this standard framework, we will be relying to discuss all the functionalities of the chapter, right? So it's a simple diagram, but you see when we populate it with the content with respect to each functionality, now how it comes alive as a document of strategic functional management, right? So this is where we are now shifting to. Now, this is the production oblique or operations strategy. And as you can see, I have populated the base diagram, this diagram, with the content on this, on the operations part. Take a minute or two to look at the content before we go in for a discussion of this. Because there are lots of content. In fact, I devised this particular framework because even in your study material, there's a lot of content under each type of strategy. Now, how do I collate and correlate, all that content? So this framework allows you to, categorize the content of the study material, in respect of each functionality, along this. And on each aspect, one can, keep talking and elaborating the idea and generate examples around, right? But however, of course, we have to simultaneously limit ourselves in terms of our discussion and argumentation, right? So you know that the output of the operations will be main product, byproduct, or waste products, right? And the strategic operations management will try to ensure that not only the waste products are, um, minimal and also what you call teach it properly and do not contribute towards so-called pollution. And if possible, there is a way to recycle these into the manufacturing of some product. Now, for example, in the thermal power stations, you know that there's a lot of ash that is generated, right? And you know that this ash can be used to manufacture bricks, and the bricks go in for construction, right? And this ash fetches you good price, right? So even in the dairy business, for example, a conventional way of making, for example, pure ghee or desi ghee is that where there will be a lot of charge left. And you know that charge today sells something like 20-25 rupee a kg, right? It fetches your revenue, right? So the strategic operations management is about managing the output of the firm in a way that it contributes to the margins and the sustainable competitive advantage, of the firm. So how even the waste products generate wealth, for the corporation. No, so this becomes a strategy perspective, and see if it can help the company build a vision of a vision of a company that contributes substantially towards SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. So this is how we can look at the role of strategic operations management. And I have just given you the glimpse of the story, and by looking at the output of the firm. Likewise, for each of these aspects, we can take up this. Now, we can pick up any factor at random, and then kind of go about its elaborations. Look at the capacity issue, and you know that capacity, while making my capacity, I'm sure you would have also seen that the long run average cost curve is also called capacity curve, because it is made up of various SACs, short run average cost curves. These are called plant curves, right? So I may choose to be a smaller plant, I may choose to be a bigger plant, right? So, and this choice is available to me. The question is, what are the strategic dimensions of this choice? As I was, I think, telling in one of the sessions earlier, I may consciously follow the route of excess capacity creation, so that after my production needs are fulfilled, I can let out that production capacity for contract manufacturing for other companies. Is it not? So that becomes a strategic use of capacity. So that is what matters. So on each of these parameters, there's a lot of strategic insight which can be generated. Let me see if you guys are production oriented and operations oriented. CAs normally are not. Cost accountants are. If there is okay. Yeah. Okay. So I don't see many questions here. This is called spatial or visual reasoning. Mansha and Shubrata, as I, in all humility, take your compliments on the infographics. So what happens is that you look at the content and you place it visually. So through your spatial reasoning, right? So it is not only verbal or quantitative reasoning, but also spatial reasoning that matters. By putting the content in a visual framework, because that gives you the leverage of analysis, which is otherwise which will otherwise difficult to comprehend. But the moment you situate this content in a in a visual format, and it becomes an awesome thing. Uh, Muskan, I can certainly speak in Hindi too, but I am not mandated to speak in Hindi. I am the medium of instruction of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is English, right? So you'll have to forgive me on this, please. So I will leave you with this visual for a while, and as I take a break, and we will come back at 10 past 7. Before I proceed any further, let me see if there have been questions on the question portal. Where does inbound logistics stop and outbound logistics begin? Good question. Although, in terms of a Puritan, from a Puritan perspective, so anything between up to the throughput is inbound logistics, and towards the market out, and it becomes outbound logistics. So in between there are operations, right? So I can look at this: inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics. So that's all. It is from accounting point of view, it is like this carriage inward and carriage outward, right? So I hope that carriage inward is taken as direct expense and outward is taken as an indirect expense. Okay. So I hope it clarifies the query regarding where inbound logistics end and where the outbound logistics begin. I am not sharing probably. Just a minute, let me share the screen once again. Okay. We are here, I guess. Yeah, so as you can see, inbound logistics are up to operations, and outbound logistics are post operations. So that's how you can probably classify this or dichotomize this if the need be, right? So another way of saying this is that inbound is supply and the outbound is what you call distribution, right? And the supply plus distribution becomes the value chain. So you can look at it that way also, because in your study material they have distinguished between supply chain and logistics, right? So the supply chain will comprise the supply partners, right? Whereas logistics is only about the movement. The word comes from military, which talks about the movement of men and machines, right? So that's where you can distinguish between the concepts. The point is that we can look at all the functional level strategies in a common framework by populating the content, dichotomizing between internal and external factors, and here we go, right? Story emerges when we relate the internal and external factors to the sustainable competitive advantage of the firm, right? So we need to look at this. Lest you should believe that this production or operation strategy is relevant only for manufacturing. Sorry, it is relevant for everybody, including such professional service providers as chartered accountants or doctors and lawyers and so on. You might argue, what is the capacity issue with regard to a doctor, for example? Doctor has got definite sitting hours, and that is his capacity to look at the patients, right? And you need to regulate the flow of the patients in sync with the capacity of the doctor, and so capacity management becomes a major issue, because if there are lots of patients at one moment of time, they cannot be served, because you cannot create different service windows for different patients, because doctor is one, is it not? So what you have to do, you have to schedule the patient arrival through, say, appointments, for example, and also because you see, the new patients will consume more time rather than the chronic and the existing patients. So you can segregate the timings between the new patients and the old patients, and that's how you can, utilize to the maximum effectiveness a doctor's or a lawyer's or a chartered accountant's, capacity. So therefore, and you know how you cleverly, for example, induct assistants. For example, as the patient arrives, somebody, paramedical staff is taking the temperature, blood pressure, and so on, filling in the necessary, all the demographic details of the patient, and maybe taking the history, so that the doctor's time is just focused on the, diagnosis of the disease, rather than clerical work issued with the filling up of the details of the patient, right? So there's a lot of way through which all this happens, and therefore all these are strategic issues. I have got 1 hour, 2.5 hours to finish a particular topic, so I have to design my deliberations in a way that I am able to impart maximum possible coverage and scope of analysis to my learners, and also attend to their queries, that may arise in the process, and yet not give them an impression that our time was short and we could not do enough, right? So therefore, it is important. Each and every aspect, has got a strategic, a significance, and that is the, so therefore, the prefixing of the word strategic is actually about taking you to the higher order level of thinking about your functionalities, about your subject, about your teaching, and so on and so forth. So therefore, you can very justifiably say that it is not only a fad that I have strategic HRM, strategic marketing, strategic production management. There's a lot of value in the exercise. So in all humility, I would say that there's a lot of value in the exercise. So it is not about, I will write one book on marketing management and another on strategic marketing management, and then another on advertising, and another on branding, and so on and so forth. Yes, so specialization, has got something to do with the higher order level of thinking, is it not? So within the marketing, I will have the book work on digital marketing. So I will specialize in digital marketing, right? So this, for example, the operations part, I have written in the what you call purple color GMPs. So especially, for example, in companies like pharmaceutical, you have to be compliant with the GMP, that is the good manufacturing practices. And for example, this might explain the location of the farm. You will find so many pharmaceutical companies in Sikkim, because there it is possible to observe those good manufacturing practices, which will be very difficult to institute in other locations, in existing locations. So various pharmaceutical companies have set up their, production facilities in Sikkim, right? So, so as I said, every aspect of this inventory management, production planning and control, all these have got strategic implications. So you name it, and then you kind of process it, and as I said, cognitively in your mind, you will find examples also, around you. So that. If there is any question on production or operations, I will come back to it. But I think I have given you reasonable amount of perspective of the production or public operations strategy. Um, um, I'll come to these aspects. This is your uh, marketing value delivery network in your study material. I can come to the marketing only because anyways, your entire study material is actually uh, based on marketing strategies. So, much of it is all marketing. So I would rather focus on other functional aspects than marketing aspect, though I will be touching marketing too. So, you know that the value delivery, of course, ultimately from the suppliers to the customers, right? And how the company, mediates in between to ensure that end-to-end value is added and value is enhanced for the target customers. I come to marketing only because marketing is uh, emphasized, I think, a bit too much in your syllabus. So same framework, the old framework, that input, throughput, output, internal and external factors, I have utilized to talk about the strategic aspects of your marketing management or strategic marketing management. Again, the idea is to yield to the firm a sustainable competitive advantage. And again, as I said, we can pick up whatever. Your book talks about your book talks about the P's of the marketing, the conventional 4 P's: product, price, place, promotion, and the additional P's for the services marketing, namely people, processes, and physical evidence. So you can keep adding. So these are the internal factors of these are the variables, the control variables which a firm uses to serve its target market. And idea is to lend that strategic vision. And imagine if your target market is bottom of the pyramid, and then how this marketing concept becomes a societal marketing concept. If you have been students of marketing, you know that marketing concept varies from product and production to the societal marketing concept. And how your marketing strategy focused at bottom of the pyramid may really alter or influence the corporate philosophy, whereby you are pricing your products, you are designing your products in a way that will serve people at the bottom of the pyramid. Or for example, you may use end to end, what you call the entire product life cycle. Use what you call, you may green it means you may make it eco-friendly, and uh, and encourage what you call conscientious consumption among the among your customers. For example, you may take them to the nature-friendly, eco-friendly consumption pattern. So, and your advertising, for example, may be pitched at it, whereby you are encouraging them to be eco-friendly or maybe socially sensitive. Now, for example, Nihar Shanti Amla talks about contribution of a for every bottle of Nihar Shanti Amla, a contribution towards the education of the girl child. So you can take up social cause marketing along with your product marketing, integrate it well. So All these ideas lend a strategic dimension to the marketing functionality. Um, and as I said, apart from serving the, and if yours is a differentiation concept, business level strategy is differentiation based. How the integrated marketing communications, for example, create that image in the minds of the customers that okay, this company is different and this brand is different, and so on. Aswa, for example, is claims to be the first social brand of India, where which thrives on women empowerment, right? So therefore, uh, you know, uh, we can look at each element of the marketing mix and see how it strategically contributes towards the sustainable competitive advantage of the firm. Because it is such marketing so much pervades your study material. I would be expecting some questions on the marketing strategy. Let me see if there are any questions before I proceed any further on this. No, fortunately, that means you guys are fairly um, comfortable with the framework that we have used here, and you are actually following whatever is being discussed mm, uh, in this particular session. So we are looking at the strategic marketing management in a way, or marketing, functional strategy as a supplement or a complement to the corporate and the business level strategy, and as also contributing directly to the sustainable competitive advantage of the firm. So the framework is the standard framework that we have developed, especially for this purpose, which comprises the internal relationship between the internal and external factors, with a view to relating the firm with its target market. So, how this marketing functionality contributes towards business level strategy. We just indicated, for example, differentiation. Now, how that differentiation idea is communicated across your target audience. Um, Okay, for your benefit, for the benefit of your understanding and mm, further focusing of the content, usually the the elements of the marketing mix are they operate in sync with each other, and that is what contributes to strategic cost strategic advantage. How? Now, for example, it is usual that a product is advertised. Even Sivamed, continuing with the same example, the product is adequately well advertised. People know this particular product and maybe are convinced also about its superiority over the existing products. But when you go to the stores to buy Sivamed, you don't get the product. That means your place strategy, the distribution strategy, or the outbound logistics are not in sync with the promotional strategy, is it not? So even if a good brand image has been created, but the customers get frustrated when they try to search for the particular product in their shopping endeavors, and therefore the entire strategy of the of the firm to situate it differentially in the minds of the customers for sustainable competitive advantage, takes a setback. So, so all the elements of the marketing mix have to really operate in sync with each other. Otherwise, the strategy will not work. That's the point that I am trying to make. And as I said, that your product planning and development, your promotion, and the it has to match with the customer expectations. I hope you are, as you can see, between the linkage between the blue and the purple. Now, for example, I have tried to emphasize that corresponding to the product, there are customer needs. Corresponding to the place, there is an issue of customer convenience. They, corresponding to the promotion, there is an issue of customer knowledge, and corresponding to the price, there is customer ability. And mind you, it is not only kind of being responsible yourself. Now whole issue is now becoming a matter of rights, consumer rights movements, right? And the consumer rights are recognized now in law, in the Consumers Protection Act, for example. So you have to ensure that your products are safe, the disclosure on the product is adequate and informative, and the product usage is controlled and it takes place toward the purpose for which it is meant. It is more so true of pharmaceutical products, which are amenable for misuse also. So all these things you have to keep in mind for an effective uh, marketing strategy. So, as I have been repeatedly saying, that each of these elements has got its own strategic connotations. And as I said, strategic thinking essentially is a higher order thinking, and higher order thinking is integrative in nature, comprehensive in nature, where you look at the things in the totality. For example, how it contributes to the goal of sustainable development, how it promotes the idea of circular economy, how it promotes the idea of conscientious consumption, and so on and so forth. So, so much so about the marketing strategy. Let me see if there are any questions. Mansha, the planetary concerns, these become what you call extrapolative, in the sense that they become the overarching concerns along with the profitability and the embeddedness in the social context. Remember we talked about the sustainable development goals and the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profitability. So therefore, a good marketing strategy, therefore, will help the company attain above average performance on the TBL, that is the triple bottom line, right? So that is what it is. So, so far we have therefore covered operations and marketing, and as you would have seen, we have adhered to the standard framework that we have developed toward the purpose. And the benefit of this framework is that it keeps us focused in the sense that every strategy ultimately is the outcome of the interaction between internal and external factors, with the goal of above average returns or performance of the corporation on whatever criteria of performance that we choose. And as I said, we have moved from a single criterion of profit or wealth maximization toward a multi-criterion decision making that comprises, apart from prosperity or profitability, the planetary concerns and the people concerns, right? So I hope you are getting the argumentation, and you're also kind of picking the nuances of the each functionality as we go along. And so far we have covered operations and marketing functionalities. I will be. I did make a reference to the financial strategy right at the word go of this particular session, wherein I use BCG matrix, and the portfolio matrix, essentially in terms of the financial flows, right? Remember, I had shown a video when we were discussing BCG matrix that talked about the flow of funds. So, I can look at the BCG matrix also as a flow of funds matrix, wherein the funds are coming from the cash cows and are getting invested in the question marks or stars, or so on. So therefore, our next logical candidate of discussion of the functional level strategies will be the financial strategy. Before I do that, another look at the okay, Saksham Loya picked up the evangelist in my in the marketing slide. Good, Saksham, you asked this question because, of course, I had not discussed it, although I had placed it on the slide, and I was hoping that somebody will ask on this particular issue, and then I will explain. Okay, let us go back to the marketing thing. And I'm very happy that you are so minutely observing the slide and asking the question. Now, as I said, that the objective of the marketing is not only the fulfillment of the customer needs, but to convert the customers into the clients, and the clients into investors, and the investors into advocates, and advocates into evangelists. So evangelism is about, a kind of a missionary, zeal to propagate a particular product or person or idea, for example. So if the company's business is about promoting some ideas, right? Ideas such as circular economy, then the whole pitch of the company will be to rope in people who would go about promoting the circular economy in an evangelist manner, in a missionary manner. So it is not about the pocket share. It is about the share in the mind and the hearts of the customers that the true marketers are seeking. So therefore, evangelism is all about passionate and missionary, promotion of an idea, or of a product, or a service. So much so that the person believes that, for example, vegan or vegetarianism, right? So a company, through its commercial advertising, is promoting, vegetarianism, and its products, and the power of communication and the power of its products is so strong that people believe that they should really support this company, because the company is in sync with their life purpose, that is promotion of vegetarianism and so on, right? So I hope evangelism is the idea of evangelist customers is clear to you. Okay, Saksham, I hope I have been able to uh, adequately attend to your queries, and in the process, I'm sure everybody has benefited with respect to the idea of evangelism. Good. Uh, right. So we can now therefore move to other functionality. And uh, my idea is, I believe in creating frameworks. I am sure when you can use these frameworks, to prepare your notes and prepare your own mind maps about the concepts that are transacted in your curriculum, and so that you don't have to mug it up. It all fits in the scheme of the things, and you are able to toy it around, for your purposes, be it examination purposes, be it your practice, or be it even your self development. So my point of view is that. Thank you, Saksham. Very happy that you raised the question, and in the process, you generated knowledge for everybody, because everybody would have benefited through the discussion of this consumer behavior, and from and the marketing thrust from merely serving a customer to the creation of evangelists, right? Because we are on marketing at the moment, let me also, kind of give you another very simple framework. But this framework again is very useful in our discussion of strategy, and so on. One of the frameworks that we use in marketing management and in advertising management is hierarchy of effects. Um, just a minute. I will put it here only so that it is right there, and you are able to make sense of it. I will increase the font size so that you can see. Yeah. So it's a systematic activity, right? Strategy is a systematic plan. So maybe you begin with the awareness, and you generate interest, right? You kindle a desire, and then promote an action at the end of the customer, and then I will not be able to type in full the satisfaction. Satisfaction, right? So the strategic marketing, marketing strategy may focus on all or on some of the effects. This is called a hierarchy of effects model. Let me see if I can pitch in here. Of effects. Okay. Right. So strategically, I might only be concerned with creating an awareness or arousing an interest, or maybe compelling the customers to take an action, and then, of course, measure their satisfaction or the feedback. So my strategic goals, I mean to say, the goals of the marketing activity or the promotional activity, maybe limited or maybe broad-based, as I said, ranging from entrenchment of circular economy to conscientious consumption, and so on and so forth, or maybe just to a very narrow objective of, arousing, interest of the people in the subject matter, right? So, and the marketing managers therefore cleverly use their marketing mix elements to create these effects as far as and marketing effectiveness is also measured with respect to the performance along these effects. So I can create a table of these effects and then see how effective has been my marketing strategy, right? So that. Mm, any questions? Okay, good. Now on to finance, because that's another important area that chartered accountants specialize in, and this is your core area. And but I will be imparting this core area with a strategic orientation, and I'm sure this will reinforce your belief in this particular paper, and also the fact that why it is important for chartered accountants to develop that business sense, is it not, apart from mere auditing and taxation, right? So, mm, finance, are we here? Yes, financial strategy. So look at same framework, but then how I have used the same framework to bring in I think, all the essentials of financial management over here, right? So, mm, as you can see, the broken lines, in this particular figure. Uh, this particular figure is important in the sense that it captures the essence of accounting and FM, because you know that accounting begins and ends with. Uh, okay, shall I put a question? Therefore, where does the accounting process begin, and where does it end? Actually, any responses? Yeah, I'm sure you're spot on. Yes, needs and wants. Uh, Definitely. Uh, this the figure that I have drawn here. If you look at just the space between the dotted arrows, I have created a flow here, as you can see here. So both it captures some of the statics as well as the dynamics of accounting and financial management. I think I need to create another slide here for better explanation, I guess. Here. Oh, and what I will try and do is that I will just extract this part. This part. Oh. Okay. So I have just extracted the part from that. Okay. Now, this figure captures the five elements around which the entire accounting and financial management is based. And as you can see, it comprises assets, liabilities, capital, revenue, and expense. No, these are the five essential elements of accounting. And as you can see that it captures the basics of, as I said, where the accounting and finance begins and ends uh, and also its limitations. For example, you know that this there is a fundamental equation called assets are equal to liabilities plus capital plus revenue minus expenses, right? You know that the profit can be plowed back for organic growth of the firm, or it may be distributed to the capital owners by way of dividends, right? Um, Now, strategically, for example, if I were to look at the accounting and financial management, so this is a balance sheet, A is equal to L plus C. You can create a balance sheet. A strategic dimension comes, I will ask questions like this. Okay, what all assets do I need to run the business? I will list those assets. Now, the second question will be, do I need to own those assets? Can I lease those assets? So therefore, those assets will not be shown on the balance sheet. I will be just hiring them and using them and paying for the use rather than paying for the ownership of the assets. So therefore, strategically, I will be able to bootstrap my project, and I will be able to do much bigger business volume with the lesser investment, right? So the strategic financial management, it gives me that higher order thinking, wherein I am able to do large volume of business without corresponding investment, in the business. Of course, each strategy has its fallouts, risks and rewards. But the very possibility. Otherwise, what happens is that we did in Porter's analysis that the capital cost of the project becomes an entry barrier, right? So yes, it will become an entry barrier. If I were to say, opening a restaurant necessarily means that I should own a space, and that ownership of space will cost me crores of rupees. That means I will not be able to run my restaurant. Whereas that today I can take a wet lease of the restaurant, wet lease money, wet lease with equipment and with human resources. And most airlines are flying on wet lease only. It is not that they own the aircraft. They take the aircraft on the wet lease, and then they are most chartered buses are being operated like that. They are taken on wet lease, right? So by the operators, right? So without investment in a bus, I am able to run a transport business. Now that's the point. So that is a strategic vision, which is superimposed on the functionality of finance, and that is the beauty of strategic management, that it gives you that perspective, right? Otherwise, you will always be bogged down by the capital cost constraints in the doing of business, right? So therefore, I said the basic elements will remain the same, because as I said, this is the beginning and the end of accounting and finance. But it's a thought behind, which makes it powerful, tool of strategy analysis, and also how it contributes towards the sustainable competitive advantage of the firm, besides contributing to the corporate and the business level objective. Any questions? Recording of the transaction. Shubhata, yeah. So the account before the recording, analysis takes place, right? And the analysis happens on the accounting equation, right? The impact of the transaction on the asset, liability, capital, revenue, and expenses, right? Then only you record, because to record you must know whether it is an expense or a revenue or a liability or a capital, is it not? So Shubhata, I hope my discussion has widened your horizons in terms of your understanding of accounting and accounting and finance. Okay, how much time we are left in, because I have to. Um, we are nearly 8 o'clock. No problem. If we are left with a functionality or two, we will take it up in the next session. But you must not carry, a kind of a misimpression that we are in a hurry or in a rush to, complete the unit. We have missed out on, certain important details. So much so. And I have already said, the finance can contribute towards the sustainable competitive advantage of the firm directly also through, for example, such things as, you know, hedging against the exchange risk, or maybe trading in the foreign exchange and generating income for the firm. By the way, in the banking sector, for example, there's a substantial role of other income. In your income statement, there is always a reporting under other income. So other income that means it doesn't come from your core business. Banking business is about accepting deposits and lending. So you give interest on the deposits and charge interest on the lending, and the difference is called spread, and that is your source of profitability, is it not? But what happens is that the bank nowadays, banks are increasing their margins and profitability not because of the spread, but in spite of it, and through their other incomes, right? So likewise, a company may also substantially gain from the other income generated by the financial managers through astute foreign exchange management and booking the capital gains for the firm and the profits for the firm through their stock market and exchange market transactions, right? So this is where the finance contributes to the strategic goals. At times, financial engineering and financial innovation is used pejoratively, negatively also. For example, you know that the Enron scam and scandal was attributable to mark-to-market accounting methods and also the use of SPVs. But otherwise, you look at SPVs, they are a means of kind of certain off-balance sheet activities and reducing the burden on a balance sheet and taking certain liabilities off through a special purpose vehicle, and ensuring that the special purpose vehicle takes care of the liability taken over or the asset taken over in a better way than the original entity, right? So with the good intention, we can use these financial engineering products, innovative products to improve the performance. In fact, probably, it might be fair to say that these chief executives, etc., the CFOs who have attained education, professional education in the top, education institutions, they do not mean to be frauds. So they take excessive risks maybe in the interest of the company. But what happens is that once the things go out of bound, they try to hide up the things, thinking that in future things, situation will improve. It doesn't happen, and this is how a scandal occurs in the hindsight. But nevertheless, finance, as a resource, can be used strategically, both to support the corporate and business level strategies, and also to contribute independently towards the competitive advantage of the firm and above average performance of the firm. Let me see if there are any questions on financial thing. Strategizing, acquiring funds and yes, definitely. So, Mansha, I would quite agree with you. Bad bank follows the concept of SPV. Mansha, what has happened is that certain financial products acquire a bad name because of these scams and scandals. But definitely, one cannot help but marvel the ingenuity of the financial engineers and financial innovators in developing the products. Likewise, asset securitization or asset monetization, right? So these are great innovations which try to unlock the potential of the assets in harnessing the corporate energy and the corporate capabilities. So at times, if something ends well, it is called good, and something ends bad, it is called bad. So consequentialism, this is called consequentialism in ethical theory. But I think objectively we can look at a financial innovation or financial engineering in terms of the objective to attain organizational objectives. Radha Iyer, can you have a look at my queries? Where are your queries, Radha? I don't see your queries. And the last query that I attended to you was market imperfections. This was I said, and then Porter's five forces model. This I have already attended to. Where are your other queries, Radha? I can't see your queries. Just a minute. Let me update once again. I cannot. Radha, your queries are not there. I cannot see Radha your queries. So, as I was saying that again we can look at any internal factor or the external factor within the and the interaction between the two with a view to seeing how it contributes towards the corporate strategy and the business strategy, and also directly to the firm's competitive advantage. For example, firms' growth, inorganic growth via mergers and acquisitions. Organic growth we saw via plowing back of the profits, as you can see in the dotted lines over here on the right panel. I mean to say, when the profit is plowed back for building up the asset base of the firm. How this financial strategy becomes critical to the firm's strategy of inorganic growth via mergers and acquisitions. For example, LBOs you would have heard of, leverage buyouts. So without disturbing the existing balance of the funding within the firm, what you can do is that you can borrow the funds from outside and acquire the unit. Those funds go into the liability side of the acquired unit, and therefore what you do is that the independent financial management of the acquired unit, you try to manage it without impacting the shareholders' wealth here. So strategic financial management therefore enables you to do that. At the same time, as I said, the LBOs, the leveraged leverage by buyouts, they affect adversely the risk complexion of the corporation as a whole, rather than the individual business unit, and add to its risk, and therefore you know. This has been one reason also, another reason for the debacles of the corporations, because it encourages the managers to take the risk which they are not supposed to, is it not? So each aspect of the accounting and finance, which is there on your screen, is capable of is amenable for strategic implementation, or a strategic thinking, so as to contribute towards the corporate and the business level strategy, and impart the firm with the above average performance and strategic sustainable competitive advantage. So we have talked about asset side, we have talked about liability side, we have seen how leasing option imparts the firm the flexibility of doing large business without corresponding investment in the assets of the firm. Another important aspect of this financial strategy, as you would have seen, is the allocative efficiency, within the firm. How the budgets are allocated among the product portfolios, with a view to optimizing the return for the firm. So all the functionalities of financial management, that the three long-term decisions, namely capital budgeting, um, what you call leverage, or capital structure, and the dividend decisions and the working capital decisions, they together add to the firm's capability for superior performance, both in the corporate sense as well as in the business level decision making. If there are any questions, with respect to any of the aspects that you see on screen, which I may not have described, I would be very happy to respond to your queries. With regards to Radha says, bifurcate, differentiate between marketing mix. Marketing mix is, the variables. Strategy is how you use these variables to contribute towards corporate objectives and the business objectives, or to contribute directly towards firm's sustainable competitive advantage. Hmm? Uh, uh, Strategy for every arena and every arena. Uh, no, what is important, at best, chartered accountant is a functional specialist. You would agree. Now, the thing is that every functional specialist has to go beyond, his or her area of specialization and develop a strategic perspective. I may, I may be a good advertiser, but unless and until I have the sense, how my advertising contributes to the attainment of the corporate objective, and enable it to attain a sustainable competitive advantage, I think my effectiveness will be that much limited, and my growth will be that much limited. So when I say a chartered accountant has to don or wear a cap of a strategic thinker, that my recommendation is that you have to, even if your area is taxation or finance, you have to think strategically. So yeah, strategic tax management, for example, or the strategic financial management. You have to think strategically, and wear that strategist's mind to be able to integrate well with the business. How would you rise to the level of board of directors, and where these decisions are taken only by virtue, not by virtue of your qualification alone, but in terms of your overall understanding of the business, and that is what is important. So. I guess that chartered accountant definitely can be a strategist. He must be a strategic thinker along with the thing. And my vision is that you should have a full paper, on a strategic management, integrated paper on strategic management, maybe a part in intern, maybe a part in the final, and it has to be practice based, where you will be writing your projects and thesis, on business analytics, and that will give you that kind of a leverage. After all, this is what these top, business consulting firms like BCG, etc., Grant Thornton, etc., are doing, is it not? They pick up the chartered accountants also, and through a process of training and experience, they rise to the level of strategic thinkers and business policy recommendation experts, and so on and so forth. If there's any question on the financial aspects of strategy, I will be happy to take up here at this moment of time. Otherwise, I think I would like to close the session in another 2 minutes or so, because if I take up another functionality such as R&D, because there's another neglected area as far as the chartered accountant goes, since it is mentioned in your syllabus. So I will be interested in taking up R&D, and I will integrate it with the knowledge management within the enterprise. But it will need time and focus attention. And towards the end of the session, I realized that the attention span tends to narrow. So rather than taking up a new topic right now, right here, I would rather defer it until we meet next, and I will link it up uh, with the next topic of our discussion, which I think is about strategy implementation, if I am not wrong, because we have done all the parts. Yeah, it is about organization and strategic leadership. So I'll be talking of this, because I will incorporate the administrative dimension of HR dimension of function strategy within this organizational and strategic leadership. So it fits in well there, and I will also take up the R&D strategy when I take up chapter 7 on Sunday with you. We have got 2 more sessions to go. Hopefully, I will be able to give you enough perspective and food for thought as far as the subject goes. Okay. Last take on the question panel. If there's any question pending. Good. Thank you so very much. I think I will stop the session here. Controls, let us stop the session here until we meet on Sunday. Vijay, are you there? Can we end the session? Hello, Vijay, are you there? Controls? Hello, controls? Can we end the session here? Hello? 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 Yeah? Yeah, thank you. Thank you.